All right, guys, get ready for our next speaker. He's not only an entrepreneur, he is the owner and CFO of Caring Transitions and of Leadership 360 LLC, Mr. Christopher Crayton. Woo! Come on down.
Thank you. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Have you enjoyed it so far? I think we've had some wonderful speakers. There was a lot of good things said. I'm taking notes. I'm learning something. The one thing I've learned about being in business is that you never stop learning. And don't ever get to the point where you feel like you've learned enough. My name is Christopher Crayton. As they said, as Bria said, we own Caring Transition. We're over Leadership 360 LLC. And we've done this thing for a couple of years. Leadership 360 is about developing and encouraging and multiplying leadership. One thing I've learned about leadership is that a lot of people don't understand that leadership is a quality and a skill, and it's something that can be learned. We started Caring Transition a couple of years ago, and we found a need. The reason we started Caring Transition, my wife and I, was because I wanted to give something to my family. I wanted them to be able to run something, to do something, and to lead something without actually depending on a job. A job is important, but I do feel that owning your own business is really important. I know I can't pass my job down to my children, but I do know that I can pass down a business. So I wanted to give them that. Just a little bit about myself. I am a certified leadership trainer and coach through the John Maxwell team. I have a master's degree in organizational leadership. I have a 4 years bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering technology. I went to Purdue for that, and I've had some bumps throughout those roads, doing those things. And the one thing that I wanted to just leave with you all, I really don't have, because like I said, I'm still learning this aspect about business. So I'm not going to try to tell you how to upscale your business and how you can make it from a 6-figure to a 7-figure business. I'm still learning some things. But I do know a few things that are very important when it comes down to business, leadership, parenting, ministry, anything and everything that involves you and that you can use to help in these aspects. And that is that, when it comes down to it, we're more important, or what we have to offer is more important than the business itself. Your why has to be greater than the outcome of it, or the money thing, or I want to expand, here and there. I want to, my why has to be bigger than that. And it can't really just be about money or things like that. Money is good. You're going to say, how are you going to sit up here and talk at a business expo and you don't say money is not? No, money is important. But when we started Caring Transition, the reason I started Caring Transition was not necessarily just about how much money I can make, but it was also about what I can leave for my children. So money is good, but your why is just important. As I said, Leadership 360, Caring Transition, John Maxwell. Now this is me. That was about 20 pounds lighter and about 25 years ago. And the two ladies that I'm standing between are my grandmothers. This is my dad's mom and this is my mom's mom. They have been very important in my development growing up. They have added so much to me in my years as a young man, growing up and spending my times and my summers in Alabama. I used to go down south every summer and spend times with my grandparents, and because they didn't have like daycare or anything like that going on up here, so at least parents didn't. At the time, they didn't want to spend money going to daycare, so I would go down there for the summer, and they taught me so much every time I went down there. And it wasn't the big lessons. It wasn't about you being a business entrepreneur, CEO, anything like that. It was really about being a well-rounded, solid person. A well-rounded, solid person. My one grandmother taught me how to respect elders. One grandmother taught me the Lord's Prayer. And they did these small little things consistently over time. And I think that had a lot to do with some of the things that I wanted to do later on. It had a lot to do with how I develop, how I respond to others, how I respond in business, some of the goals, the dreams, the desires, the passions. One grandmother had a small store in the back of the house, and she would sell, I didn't see a lot of Tootsie Rolls. I didn't see a lot of freeze pops. I didn't see a lot of Mike and Ike's candies or Now and Laters. She made one thing, and they were called freeze cups. She didn't do anything but pour Kool-Aid in a little cup, sell it to the kids, and they would come to the back door, and they would knock on the back door and say, "Ms. Brand, can I buy one of those freeze cups?" And she'll give them a quarter, or they'll give her a quarter, and she'll sell the freeze cups. I was even part of it. I was guilty for eating product that I shouldn't have eaten. I should have added to it instead of, I had to put in, I would eat some of the product myself. So she was like, "Hey, you take that, you got to put a quarter in." So I guess that was a business lesson in itself. But they would do these little things, and I learned little things. And I guess the point, while I was coming up with my talk for the day, I wanted to just encourage you all, don't forget some of the small things that you learned growing up. Business has been around you most of your life probably, and you just probably never even noticed it. Some of the things to help you develop into the business person that you are may have been around you most of your life, and sometimes they kind of go over our heads. My grandmother was a business person. Now, she didn't scale it. She didn't mass produce it. She didn't sell it in stores. It didn't go no further than the back porch with the neighborhood kids. But it was still a business. And it taught me more than just scaling and things like that. It really just taught me how to be respectful to others, how to be patient, how to be kind to other people. So just a few things I want to hit on. And this will help your business. It's not necessarily about your business, but it is about your business. Don't get so caught up on the big things. Be patient. Be patient. And I'm not talking just to you like one who has, mastered these things. I'm still learning some things. And I'm still trying to figure out some things. And we're still trying to maneuver through some things. And sometimes you can get so caught up in the business, you forget why you're doing it. Be patient. Don't get so caught up on the big things. And then understand this, and that James Clear said this, the author of the book Atomic Habits. He said, you know what, it's not really about the big things, but the small things that you do consistently over time, they bring forth a big reward. What are the small things can we do consistently over time? What are the small things that you can do to kind of help scale your business or even just you as a person? What are the small things? I tell you this, when I saw this, it made me think about my years at Purdue. Now, when I say that I have a 4-year degree in mechanical engineering technology, that degree did not come easy. Like any other degree, it don't come easy, but I really struggled in school. You know what I'm saying? So there were times I had this math class. I took the same math class twice. And after flunking it for the second time, I remember sitting in a stall at a bathroom at Purdue crying, Lord, I am tired of flunking. This costs money. I can't do this. I don't know what I am going to do. And so what I've learned is that when you give the Lord your plan, your goals, he'll give you a plan. So I sit up there and I said, hey, you know what? The Lord gave me a plan. He's like, look, your goal is cool. Give me your goal. We'll change some things up. So I gave him my goal. And it was just small things that it made a big difference. Number one, I stopped sitting in the back of the classroom trying to hang out with the boys. Come up front, sit in the front, take notes with everything, whether you know it or not. Check your times and your priorities and your schedules. Because there were a lot of times I had to go to work, and in between work and school, I had to really arrange my schedule to make sure I had enough time to study, to talk to professors, to do certain things. There were a lot of little things that had to change up for me to be successful and to complete and get my degree. But the Lord gave me the plan. He said, you know what? You give me a goal, I'll give you a plan. So they helped me out. James Clear said, goals are good for direction, but systems are better for making progress. Don't get so caught up. Goals are good, but don't let that be your in all. What is your system like? What are your systems like? You have things going on in business, and it's good. You got a goal to make millions. That's good. You got a goal to upscale it here and there. That's good. But what are your systems like? Because your systems will determine your goals, and your goals are a reflection of your systems. What are your systems like? Because there's a lot of people who made a lot of money and lost their families. I've known people who made six-figure salaries on their jobs, and they don't have no type of connection with their children. What are your systems like? John Maxwell said, making goals your focus, it's like having your cake and eating it too. Growth, your focus. He said, growth is your highest reward, and it's not just about, it says growth, your highest reward is not what you get from it, but it's about what you become by it. What do you become when you grow? It's not about what you get. It's about what you become. I think we've learned some things, even as owners of businesses and stepping out into certain things. I've learned some things, and one of the things I learned is that, if God said I can do it, why let anybody else tell me I can't? He says, for you, it's for you. What can I do with that? I need another answer. I need somebody else to give me that opinion. He said you can do it. What do? You do it. So I learned to stop asking too many questions when he already given me the yes. Sometimes we'll ask, you sure? You sure? Are you doubting me? If I said you can do it, why are you continue to ask me questions? If I said you can do it, do it. Philippians 3:14. Paul said, I press towards a goal. What? For a system of a higher calling. It was not just about a goal, but it was for a system. So check your goals. Goals and systems, they're good, but make sure your goals are in line with your system. What's the ultimate system? What is your end goal? Is it about providing for your family? Is it about leaving a legacy? Or is it just about putting a couple of dollars in your pocket? What are your goals? Results and systems. Don't get caught up and be very, sometimes we are so result driven. But what are your systems? Are things on a result level or are things on a system level? Some things are we want results. I know I'm one of those guys, I like to see results. But at the end of the day, what is my system like? Because if I don't get those things quite done the way I expect them to get done, or like I hope they'll get done, at the end of the day, what is my system about? What am I operating on a system level? It says here, and James Clear said this, when you solve problems on a result level, you only solve them temporarily. In order to improve for good, you need to solve problems on a system level. Fix input and the output will fix themselves. I often tell leaders, and I often say this, a lot of times when we're dealing with in position where we have to lead people, most of the time we always want to correct people or fix people. At the end of the day, it's not about you fixing people. You set the system up, you develop the system, and people will respond to the system that you set. A lot of times we're trying to we'll deal with the wrong things because we want results. But if you deal with things on a system level, now you're actually improving. You start setting things up on a system level, people got to respond to the system that you establish. So goals versus systems. Results versus systems. Make sure you're operating more on a system level and not on a result level. Results are good, but systems are better. Be willing to either have healthy responses, be willing to deal with healthy responses or disease responses. There are some things that you can implement in how you respond in your business, because again, your business is based upon, one of the things that's really important about your business is who you are as a business owner. How do you respond as a business owner? Can I trust you? Can I listen to you? Can you listen to me? Do you hear what I need? Do you hear what I'm talking about? Are you focused on what you're just getting, or are you just as focused on what you can give? Some of the things that we add, they can cause problems. Some of the things that we can remove, they can help us. What are the things that we're adding or removing? It says here, identify growth barriers. And the thing we needed, one thing that can really help us if we address limitations, identify restrictions, and admit failures. A lot of times, and I like that last one because a lot of times we're not willing to admit failures because we want to protect our position or protect, who we are. We don't want to look bad. At the end of the day, and most of the times people will appreciate it if you're willing to admit failures and grow from them, And even in business, I think I remember hearing about Tylenol back in the day when they had some issue with the aspirin, and they began to remove a lot of stuff off the shelves because they found a problem. People were getting sick and dying from the stuff, and they turned around and they took everything off, and they knew they would probably lose a lot of money. But he said, you know what? It's not about the money that we lose, but it's about the lives that we save. So Tylenol had to admit a failure, and now I still buy aspirin. Do you from Tylenol? I do. So they're still on the shelves and they're still being used. So when you acknowledge failures, admit failures, identify restrictions, all these things, restrictions, limitations, all of these things, these barriers, they're nothing but thresholds that you have the authority to cross through Christ. So whatever those thresholds are, you can cross those thresholds, but you got to identify them. A lot of times we like to ignore these things. A lot of times we like to not point these things out. We'd rather say, hey, you know what? I'll overlook it and try to walk around it, but I'm still just walking around something that is still there and not dealing with it. It's really hard to scale your business. It's really hard to operate on a higher level in your, to establish a system. It's really hard to deal with some things or to move to next levels if you don't identify some things. And a lot of times, most of the things we need to identify, sometimes it can be about us. It's not necessarily about the business. It may not be about the customers or the clients. What is my goal? Again, what am I doing things? How am I doing things? Am I greedy? Am I selfish? Am I self-centered? So let's identify growth barriers. A lot of times people don't want to say anything about these things. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to be the best I can be, I got to identify with the limitations that are trying to hold me back, right? So check the elements you add or eliminate. Inviting and investing into growth practices. Paul said here in 2 Corinthians, he was like, yo, man, if you sow sparingly, you'll reap sparingly. But if you sow graciously, you'll reap graciously. What are you investing in when it comes down to your growth practices? A lot of times, most times, people will prefer to take a trip to Cancun, take a trip across the country, take a trip somewhere else, but put very little in their own growth practices. How can I grow as a business owner? I love it when companies decide to take, and I find it very important when companies go on like leadership retreats, team building events, because those are the things, some people may say, well, it's irrelevant. It's really not a big thing. But at the end of the day, these things add to the camaraderie of the team. It's just as important as everything else that they invest in, whether it be marketing, whether it be, advertising or whatever they invest in. What are the elements that you're willing to add? Are you sowing graciously or sparingly in the things that add to your business? Are you removing some of the elements? Hey, I found it interesting that a lot of times people will have, and I have to talk about myself. I'm not coming down on nobody, but I have to talk about myself. You don't need a TV in every room, but you got TVs in every room, but we don't have a bookshelf. We got a TV in every room, or you got all kind of movies on your phone, but you don't have any iBooks in your phone or no kind of listening material, or anything that deals with growth or leadership or scaling your business. And then when you tell somebody, hey, you know what? I'm getting ready to go to this leadership conference. Why do you need to do that? But if I say I'm getting ready to go to Cancun or Hawaii or anywhere else, they go, ooh, go have a good time. We don't want to invest in ourselves. The best product that you have is yourself. Invest into yourself. Invest into learning. Invest into growth practices. How can I be a better leader? And be sure to understand something. You don't stop growing and you don't stop learning. I've invested thousands into growing as a leader, understanding leadership, practicing leadership, being able to talk about leadership. I've invested thousands into it. Why? Because before my vehicles, before my house, the first person I need to invest into, besides my family and my kids and my wife and my, also myself. You have to invest into your growth. So, some of the vices may be internal first. Don't ignore them. Some of the issues that we may have, they may be internal. They may be the first person we may have to deal with. The first person I have to deal with is me. It's me. The first person I have to address before I go to my wife and say, why didn't you, or the kids, it's me. So what am I willing to ignore? What am I willing to deal with? Because if I ignore it, I can't expect to grow. A lot of times it's easy. Oh my goodness, it's so easy to ignore things and hope that they just go away. Sometimes they don't go away. And we'll deal with something for months, years, decades, because we did not say there's a problem and we need to identify this, or I need to address this, So I like what Ryan Leake said here. He's the author of a book, Leveling Up, 12 Questions to Elevate Your Personal and Professional Development. He says the irony about self-development is that a lot of times people who who are like self-aware, they're always, or they say they're self-aware, they're the most likely. It says here, let me read it here. He says, the irony about self-aware is that you would have to be extremely self-aware to know that you're not self-aware. A lot of people who say, I am not self-aware, you're good. You're okay. Why? Because you're the one to say, hey, you know what? I know I need to improve on some things. The one who say, hey, I'm good, I'm self-aware. You may need to listen to somebody on the other side of you, or you might need to talk to somebody who's you might need what they say. He said, you know what is it like to be on the other side of you? Talk to somebody. I remember I used to be a manager. I used to be a shift manager at one of the local steel mills. And one day I had a hard time because I learned that you don't manage people, you lead people. You manage systems and products, but you lead people. So I'm in there and I'm trying to manage people, and it's not working right because they can say no, they got all kind of things going on. They may not want to be bothered and whatever else, but for people to actually move, how to get people to move into the same rhythm, into the same task, and to accomplishing the same goal is through leadership. So I began to study up on leadership. And I would have moments when I would sit down with one of my workers, a trusted coworker that I work, one of the guys that work with me, and I would say, hey man, what is it like being under my authority as a manager or as a leader? And he would be honest, and he would be brutally honest, and I had to take it, and I had to learn from it. Why? Because sometimes we'll lie to ourselves. The first person sometimes we'll lie to will be ourselves. And sometimes we need somebody that's going to be brutally honest. Hey, you need to be for you to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. I remember one day I came in and I started practicing better leadership qualities, started working in leadership, started trying to be a better leader. And I began to I also got to the point where I took a lot of hits from upper management more than my team. I would even take hits for my team because I was trying to develop something here, not just necessarily just trying to get a product. But I remember one of my guys, I wrote down, I put a list. We had a lineup. We would line up and start our day. And I put a sheet of paper down there on the table. And I would say, hey, I got maybe about 25 people sitting in this lineup room, locker room, where we lined up to start our day. And I would say, hey, I need you guys to write down ways that you think I can improve as your leader, as your manager. And I said that worried about what I was going to see or hear, because they could be brutal. And you put yourself in a position and they can put whatever they want and not tell you. And I said, don't put your name on it. Don't sign anything. Just tell me what you think. And I walked out of the lineup room and I sit there waiting for everybody to come out. And the last person came out and I walked in there looking, and let me tell you, we had a guy on our crew, his nickname was Chucky. So if his nickname was Chucky and you remember the little character, he was just as bad. So I was waiting for the results of this. And when I got in the lineup room and I picked the sheet of paper up, it had one thing on it. He said, let's start lineup earlier so we can get done for the day, so we don't have to stay over later. I took that. Hey, that wasn't a way to improve. It was a whole lot easier than I thought it would be. But I appreciated that, and I think that they appreciated it as well. You know, they began to see something because I was working on my own vices as a leader and growing in every other area of my life. So never put what's important over what's urgent. Learn to prioritize the two. Sometimes we get so caught up on what's important and we forget what's urgent. Understand the difference between the two. Is the business important or is your family important? Is the business urgent or is the family urgent? Which one is it? Understand to prioritize the two, because if you put one over the other, your reward won't be as great. It may be worse. Be willing to investigate and research. Investigate and research. What ways can I improve? Be willing to step outside of your normal square, your normal circle, and to learn some things, investigate, research some things. One thing that I often find is that sometimes people will come to me and say, hey man, you know, sometimes it's family. Let's say, cuz I want to start a business. And I love it when they want to talk about it when they've done research already. Sometimes people will come to me and say, hey, you know what? I want to do this. And the first question I ask is, what kind of research have you done? They don't have anything to offer us. Let me know when you come back with some research. You know, what you got? You got some numbers, you got some stats, you got some, do you have anything that you can show me? Not that I will understand the internet and everything that they put, but at least be able to say, I've done some research, you know? Be willing to investigate and research. Don't get distracted by the success or the failures of other people. I am on the stage. I've been standing up here, and a lot of people who've come up here, they've had some heavy things to bring. They brought some good stuff. They brought some good information, and I can get distracted in the information that they brought. But the only way that I can do what I gotta do or do what I'm supposed to do or be me is to not get so consumed or distracted by their success. I have to learn from them. You can't learn if you're distracted. I can't learn from what they gotta say if I'm distracted by what they're doing. Oh, they're $1 million owners. They're messing with big money. They're exchanging big money to do this and to do that. I wanna be like that. Yeah, I do, but not to get distracted in who they are and lose out on who I am. What I have in my hands, that's what I want to use. And as whatever is in my hands expand, then I will grow based upon that. But if I try to expand based upon what I don't have, I'm going to sell myself short. I have to be patient. As the first slide said, be patient to grow through the process. That's one of the biggest things about being a business owner is being patient. Don't get so distracted. Don't get distracted by the success of others. And the least likely you are to accept change, the most likely you will become irrelevant in a changing society. The least likely you are to accept change, there are things that I'm not you know, I told you about the degrees, a master's in this and, you know, degree in this. Let me tell you about something about me, and I don't want you to tell nobody else about this. I'm not a guy who likes to read a lot. But because I want to step in a territory that I am not used to, I have to read. You know, now my day of reading a book was watching something on TV when high school, it was terrible. Mom would say, you need to pick up a book. No, my Atari is working. I'm still playing my game. I'm not willing to pick up a book. Now here we are, so many years later, I want to grow in so many areas, grow and step into different arenas. I have to be willing to change. I can't be the same person I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 weeks ago. Because once I decide to be that person and to stay that person, then I'll stop growing. And I won't be able to accomplish the things that I'm supposed to accomplish. So be willing to understand the difference in change. Be willing to change, because if you are so reluctant to change, when an opportunity to change come up, you find that you're irrelevant. You find that you don't have anything to offer. We're living in a society right now where, especially when it comes down to business, we have to change. You have to scale up. You have to make adjustments. You have to make different moves. You have to talk to different people. Because why? We're in a time right now where your business can sink in a heartbeat if you don't do what you're supposed to do, if you don't stay relevant. If you're just trying to do the same thing, McDonald's is not McDonald's 50 years ago. Some of these other places, they're not. Some of these places, they last for a long time. But guess what? They did not start off the way that they are now. They had to be willing to change, right? So understand the difference between anxiety and fear. Fear is a system. Anxiety is a result of that system. Why did I put that? Because a lot of times when you're stepping into an arena to change, when you really step into an arena to change, and you say, I feel afraid. No, fear is the system. Anxiety is the feeling you may have. But for us to accomplish the things that we have to accomplish, I have to be willing to overcome that system and disregard the anxiety or the feeling. Lord, help me, I'm afraid. I think one of the things that trip me out that I love about this thing is every time I stepped into something different, every time I stepped into something new, I said, hey, Lord, this thing is bigger than me. And I remember him saying to me a couple of times, yes, but I'm bigger than it, trust me. So ever since then, I say, okay, you know what? It's bigger than me, but if you say I can step into it, I'll step into it. So anxiety and fear, understand the difference, because you have to overcome those things. We can't move on into the things that we're supposed to move on if we're still struggling with anxiety, if we're still allowing the system of fear to control us. A lot of people don't step into business because of fear and anxiety. I don't want to lose my money. I got a few dollars sitting to the side. It's comfortable for me just to go to a job. I had to deal with that even in the position to step into a new business and to step into another business and to step into going to training and things like that, because this stuff costs. I don't have this money laying around like it's just that easy. No, guess what? You got to be careful about fear and anxiety. Communicate to navigate those around you. You're supposed to be, the words we use play a big difference, have a lot to do, or have a big impact on those who are around you. My Leadership 360 LLC, the picture you saw, I didn't design that. My 14-year-old daughter did. Why? Because I wanted to get her involved in some type of way. I wanted to communicate, this is what Dad's about. This is what we're about. This is what we want to do. This is what I want you to see. So I had to communicate. How do you communicate that? Sometimes it's not just about what you say, but it's about what you do. Sometimes it's not about just what you do, but it's about the environment that you set. Sometimes it's not even just about the environment you set, but it's about the things that you invite or you remove from the environment. What am I going to do to have, to communicate this vision? I want them to see this vision. I want them to hear this vision. I want them to feel this vision. So, and that's what I want. And I love it when sometimes I'll get a feedback, because my wife will give me feedback every once in a while. I say, hey, you know what? The kids were saying that they wanted to do this, 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 this. And they'll say they wanted to do something. They saw me do it. I'm like, oh, cool, they're hearing me. I love it. They hear me. So that's all I have. I thank you for your time. And I'm going to leave. I got maybe a few minutes for a couple of questions. And you know what? Give it a shot. If you got anything, I'd love to answer.
You're in what industry? I mean, I saw the slide. I didn't see what industry. Home, was it home health?
Oh, Care and Transition?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we deal with senior relocation, estate sale, downsizing. So a lot of times we work with the senior community. And if they want to, say you have a senior who's saying, hey, you know what, I want to move, but I need help, figuring out what I'm gonna do with my stuff, where I'm gonna put my things. I want to move into the senior living facility, but I got too much stuff. We help them in the process of liquidating. We do online auctions. We help them with doing estate sales if they choose to do an estate sale. We actually just recently purchased, we're leasing a warehouse. So if the customers say, I got to move my house, I got to move everything out of my house quickly because this is going on the market. It's about to be sold. Well, we'll take their items, we'll take them to our warehouse, and we'll do the online auction there. They can do the pickup there. So we try to help them out with the process. We'll go into it and we'll start, if they need us to, we do sorting and organizing. Or if you're saying, hey, you know what, we're going to a smaller place. Well, we do right sizing. So we'll turn around and we'll investigate the place, see what they can and cannot bring, if they need to leave some things, and then whatever they can bring, we'll either auction it online, do an estate sale, or we'll donate it.
Your grandmother's, the motivation behind that, did you have your grandmother?
You know what? In a way, it's not just them, but sometimes I have a lot of seniors in my family, and they have a lot of stuff. I went by an older cousin, and I love him to death. But you go in the garage and you'll find a '57 Chevy sitting in there. Not a Chevy, a Chevy. And you'll find an old cell phone, one of the first cell phones ever made. And so people end up kind of leaving stuff over there. And I said, you know what? I love her and I love to go by there, but I say, and I'm not wishing for it anytime soon, but when she goes, and the Lord call her home, I know we're gonna need to clean all that out. And it is full. So you know what, it is a process. And that was part of the motivation, but again, the other part of it was because, like I said, me and my wife, she was working, going out to Illinois every day, coming home, she was not satisfied with the job she was working. And I said, you know what, and I was praying about it, and I said, what can I do, what can I do? And the Lord said, why don't you give her a job? So we talked about finding a franchise to get into that, and that's something that she can actually work for herself instead of working for somebody else. So we bought into the franchise, we did the research, we did the training and everything else, and we say, hey, we're gonna go with it because I want this to be you all's thing. I want this to be the thing that you all, once it builds the momentum, you and the girls, my two daughters, they can continue it on, multiply it, and make it something. And if they say, hey, Dad, we're not going to give you anything, I'll say, okay, cool, just long as you're doing what you're supposed to do with it. They may give me something, but they may not. But I just want them to be able to take that and run with it, So, for Caring Transition? It's caringtransitioncp.com. Go ahead. Huh? Oh, no, that was her next to you.
First of all, I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. I took about 7 pages of notes.
Okay, good.
Thank you
Well,
for
praise God.
being so thorough in your presentation about leadership. So I have 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
The first question is, can you correct? No, let me order my question. Do you have like a podcast, a book, YouTube channel, something that where you on a regular basis? That's my first question.
Okay.
And then my second question is, can you give me a list of leadership books that you can recommend that I read?
Okay. I'll start with the first question. I do have a YouTube page. I'm still working on certain things. One of those devices or areas I got to step into that I'm still kind of developing, but I do have a YouTube page. It's Leadership 360 LLC. As far as books, most of the books that I like to, I love things on leadership. One book that I cannot deny, that I always love to start with it. I'm not trying to preach or anything, but I love the scriptures. I love the Bible. I think every leadership material, everything that comes out of that, anything that's been developed has come from scripture. John Maxwell, I think one of them is communicate to connect. I believe that's one of them. I love his 21 Laws of Leadership, 15 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. There are Leader Shift. I love that one. I love James Clear. I just read his book not too long ago, and I loved it. Atomic Habits. Ryan Leakes. I saw Ryan Leakes at a GLS in Illinois a couple of months ago, and I never heard of him since before then, and ever since then I'm like keeping up with him because I do believe I enjoy some of the things that you said, and I think they're very important. The books, and you also, did I answer everything? You asked books and the Facebook presence or the website presence. Okay, cool. Anything? Thank you everybody.
Clap your hands for Christopher Crayton.
Come on to the middle of the stage.
On the behalf of our supporters at Chicagoland Popcorn, we just want to give you a little snack for tonight when you're watching the Colorado game. But we appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for your awesome message here.
Thank you, brother.
All right, clap your hands again for Mr. Christopher Crayton. All right.